Hey guys, it's Matt Wenning at winningstrength.com, and today we're going to talk about how to walk out a squat. Now, this may seem very common knowledge for a lot of people, but I've seen a ton of people make mistakes. So let's get to it.
Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss. They ain't wanna help me, that's what made me a boss. You can't kill my confidence, I think I'm the man. We don't give a f, that's what they don't understand. I'm back again like flu season. I broke records while loose leafing. I'm coming down my roof, leaving. Don't give a f, I don't care. Did the by my lonesome. No wonder now I'm on one. No shortcuts on that long run. All I really want is my share.
The first thing is we have to get the bar centered on our back, okay? This is one big issue I see a ton of, and I'm guilty of it. So for a lot of years, I squatted with the bar off kilter because my right leg was shorter than my left. So for me, naturally, having the bar a little bit off center always felt better. I don't know how many meets I went to, even squatting 1,200 pounds, that the bar was kicked off to the right about a half an inch. And that's just how my body functioned. But I think a lot of it started because that's how I started when I was a kid. But the point is that when you center the bar, there are some key steps on how to center the bar perfectly. Step one, you first need to get your hands perfectly centered. So if you want to put your fingers on the ring of the bar or wherever you want, I had to go way out wide because my pecs were insanely tight benching 600. But when I had to go out insanely wide, so there was no way for me to get off center because I took up all the space I could take on a bar. But for a lot of people, they come in closer and get tighter, which is totally fine. But if you make sure your hands are perfectly even, the chances of it being under your back perfectly even are very, very high, okay? So that's step one. Step two, carry the bar below the trap, okay? Now, the problem with that is, the reason most beginners don't like it there, they don't have any upper back muscle. So if we look at this picture, rear delts and traps are huge, not only in posture development and shoulder health, but also in developing the shelf for the bench. So what you need to do when you carry the bar below the trap, you actually shorten your lever arm of your torso. So a high bar squat and a low bar squat, if you know how to do it correctly, should be the difference between probably 10 to 15% of how strong you can be based on the fact that you just made your thoracic lumbar shorter by carrying the bar lower. So if we look at this video of Eric Lillibridge squatting, look how low he's carrying the bar. Probably one of the best squatters to ever live. High bar squatting would be nearly impossible to do at those weights. So learning how to carry the bar a little bit lower will be a huge advantageous situation for you as you get stronger. But it comes back down to developing the upper back. If it were me and I was starting all over again and I wanted to be a good squatter, I would make sure that my rear delts are heavily developed in order for me to have the right bar positioning. No rear delts and you carry it below the trap, it's going to feel like it wants to slip off of your back. If you got really beefy, meaty rear delts, it sits right there and it won't move. So that's another big issue. Another one, take efficient steps. I don't know how many times we get people in here on seminars and whatever, and they're walking out and taking like 1.5 foot steps. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, if that's 600, 700, 800 plus pounds, there's no way you're going to take those amount of step length strides. You're going to have to take them in smaller steps. The other thing is you don't need to be that far out of your rack or a monolift to be able to squat those particular weights. Meaning that if you can get close enough to the J-hook, you're actually saving a lot of energy walking it out too far. A lot of people have issues walking it out too far and they think they need to because they round over at the bottom and shoot their butt up and cause the bar to drift forward, making it more of a leg press than a real squat. When this happens, you have to be farther away from the J-hook or you can get caught under the J-hook. But if your squat form is absolutely perfect, your chest is high, your thoracic spine is high, and your knees are pushed out, the squat's going to be a pretty straight line up and down, meaning that you only need to be out of the monolift or the J-hook 4 to 5 inches. That's not a very big step, but it also means that your technique has to be perfect. The next big thing that I think that you guys need to understand and need to get better at, and I see this all the time, is you need to learn how to lock in and how to brace. Locking in and bracing before you squat is a mistake we see a lot of beginners and intermediates make that is huge, and not only how much they lift, but how safely they can lift it. A good way to be able to brace in better is doing things in a standing position that require you to function your abs. Standing band crunches, winning planks, Things of that nature are going to be huge in understanding how to lock in your TVA and your abdominal muscles in order to brace in and lock. Now, for everybody at different torso heights and overall heights and dimensions, bracing in is going to look slightly different for some people versus others, right? Teddy is 5'6" and I'm 6'1". So some of our techniques look very similar and some of them can look very different. At the end of the day, we're still working on perfection of form, okay? And we're also working on training and developing and maintaining bracing abilities. This means that most of our core training is all about bracing more than moving. So your traditional crunches and abdominal work is not necessarily going to be very helpful for bracing in on a big squat. But doing planks, side planks, winning planks, and band crunches, they're going to be a huge advantageous scenario for you to squat bigger weights. So reviewing, we need to brace better. We need to take efficient steps in walking out and technique. We need to carry the bar probably a little bit lower if we're first learning how to squat, which means we need to develop our rear delts. And we also need to make sure that the bar is centered on our backs so that way we don't have a left to right imbalance on that particular scenario. So I hope this helps you a little bit to getting a better squat. If you need more help, come visit winningstrength.com, where we take all this into account on online coaching. Talk to you guys later.
Lately I've been living like I can't take a loss.